Guillermo del Toro, the creator and director of the original Pacific Rim, actually left this sequel so he could direct The Shape of Water. Can we give him another Oscar? Is it too late for that? It's only a couple weeks. And the Academy Award for Best Foresight goes to... It seems like foresight is my theme for this review. Yes, as mentioned, GDT had the foresight to create a Best Picture Oscar winner instead of this film. Charlie Hunnam even had the foresight to walk away from this sequel, and Idris Elba had the amazing foresight to just let his likeness be used and collect a paycheck. And Burn Gorman lacked the foresight to change his name to something other than Burn Gorman. I can remember chuckling at the names of the characters from the original movie like Stacker Pentecost, Hannibal Chow, Hercules Hansen, and Draven Islander. Names so stupid, you can't even tell I made one of them up. In this sequel, we get characters that are just as larger than life. One might even say largerer, like Jake Pentecost, the son of Stacker, the return of Newt Geisler, the Asian woman from the last one, the new Asian female character, the kid, and Clint Eastwood's son. He looks a lot like him. I begin to wonder if Guillermo del Toro's genius just never stops, that even in arguably his worst film, he's still working somewhat subtextually, that he creates such stock, ridiculously named characters because he realizes that in a movie like this, the characters don't really matter. I mean, hardly anything matters in this movie. Here's what I mean. At the very least, I give these filmmakers credit for attempting to fake a story. Take, for instance, Jake, played by John Boyega. His connection to Idris Elba's Stacker Pentecost from the first one is almost moot. There's almost no backstory, and there's really no connection. Also consider Scott Eastwood's character, whose name really doesn't matter. He has a former relationship or a former partnership with Jake as well, but there isn't really any tension there. There's no consequences, there's no real relationship. It's just the fact they know each other. There's also the character of Jules, who the two men flirt with, because seemingly she's the only attractive 30-something in the movie. But the worst stock character stock had to be the spunky new generation of Jaeger pilots, the kids, led by our fearless and also spunky 15-something-year-old Amara, the female protagonist that is ripped right out of the pages of the newest Transformers. But of course, it doesn't just end with a spunky street kid who makes her own robot. No, there has to be that one kind of older bitchy cadet who really doesn't believe that Amara belongs there. Who cares? I don't care about any of these characters. I only care about giant robots fighting giant monsters. None of these characters mattered. None of their backstory mattered. If Jake wasn't Stacker's son, it wouldn't have changed anything. If Scott Eastwood's character and Jake hadn't had a former friendship, it still wouldn't have changed anything. And Jules could have been any attractive 20 or 30-something woman, and it wouldn't have changed anything. Just literally none of the story mattered. Even the story beats were stock. Our heroes have trouble fitting in. Their rebellious nature is not cohesive with the military. Some enemies become friends, some friends become enemies. But you know what? Let's move on. Did any of us really go to see this movie for the writing? Is it weird that my answer may actually be yes? That's because Stephen S. Tonight, an otherwise brilliant writer, arguably now, is actually making his feature film directorial debut. But this is a man who's actually directed and written some of the best episodes for some of my favorite series, including Smallville and the Netflix Daredevil, and who was actually part of the Whedon writing team on 3 different shows. The point is, he's seemingly better than that, at least from the writing perspective, because he knows how to put together a story. But he didn't do any of that. But you know what? I'm beating a dead kaiju here. We went to go see this movie for big off shiny monsters and robots. The monsters are shiny. It doesn't matter. But here's the craziest thing about this entire story. There isn't enough of the good stuff, in my opinion. There aren't enough big off shiny robots or big monsters, because the story actually takes place 10 years after the original, when the monsters have already been defeated. Which made me have a few questions. 1, why would they still be building multi-billion-dollar Jaegers when they haven't had anything to fight in over a decade? Sub-question, why is there a rival Japanese company looking to replace those billion-dollar machines with other billion-dollar machines of their own when they still haven't had anything to fight in over a decade. With my follow-up question of why would you set a kaiju fighting movie after all the kaijus have already been defeated? I think that perfectly exemplifies what this film's problem is. It's just disconnected. The characters themselves don't connect with one another, but more importantly, this story really doesn't connect with the original story. It could have taken place 10, 20, or 50 years in the future, and nothing really would have changed. And you could feel that disconnect with Stephen S. DeKnight as well. You didn't feel it with Guillermo del Toro in the first one because it was a passion project. As much as it was a goofy film about monsters fighting robots, it was a love letter to the Godzilla films that he grew up watching. And I, for one, think that that sometimes can supersede an otherwise crappy movie. If the filmmakers had fun making it, usually you have fun watching it. Granted, anybody going to see this film to see giant robots fight giant monsters will presumably get what they wanted, but it wasn't enough for me. They just seemed to be going through the motions, which, for an action movie in March, wasn't good enough. You gotta earn that summer spot, because otherwise it's fairly evident why you were released in March, and it's also evident why you are a burn it. Poll question, what long-awaited sequel left you wanting more? As always, leave your answers in the comments section below, but until next time, school's out. Hey Real Students, thanks for watching. If you want to subscribe to Real School, click that round Real School logo right beside me. Also click that damn notification bell so you're aware of all of Real School's new content. You can follow me on Twitter, and of course, if you get anything out of Real School, you can always give a little back. Just click the link in the description below or the button down there, and you can become part of my Patreon team.